want to get that on video. When I asked you or anybody that would know, Jacob's trouble is specifically in Daniel 12. I know it, but it's named that in there, but it's talking about day 9, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure it is, but I remember the wording, which is Jacob's trouble, in there.
Jacob's name means Israel.
What's that?
Jacob's name means Israel.
This is right. Okay.
Remember Jacob wrestled with the Lord?
Yeah, that's right.
Changed his name to Israel.
Right.
So what's the trouble? Well, they've got to come under the rod of correction one more time to get that covenant making that they're going to be doing with the Lord.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing some covenant making. When Jesus comes, they're going to be thanking him. They're going to be, he's going to get, how do you get a nation to turn? You know? It's not easy to do. So they have to turn. Right now, as a nation, they're really not, I mean, they're pretty secure and happy with their missile defense system, and they're all tracking and all of their things.
Right.
Disco, and young people dancing, and
But-
they're all happy. They pretty much feel like they're, like Ezekiel 38 says, they're a land of unwalled villages.
Right.
Why would you be unwalled? Because you're arrogant, you don't think you need walls. And then Ezekiel 38 war happens.
That's the Gog and Magog.
Fear of God hits them.
Yep.
And then God has to swoop down and protect them and shape the world.
But we bring up an interesting point, which might come into your mind sometimes. Because you're a Jew, does that mean you're going to be saved? Okay, that's right, exactly. We can get that from church. It's like we hear all about the Jewishness stuff, and you can almost think that, okay, I'm a Jew, I'll be saved. Because remember, Jews are still looking for their Messiah. We know that the real definition would be messianic. Jews will definitely be saved, obviously, because they are saved. You know, so that's the key. You can get that from a lot of the language. I don't think from we talk. I think it's pretty clear. But if you just heard it on the surface level, you might think, oh, I could just be a Jew, or if I'm right now in Israel and all this stuff end time, then I'm saved. No, that's not the same way. You always get saved by grace, you see, and believing in Jesus is the Messiah, in effect, by the Jews' side. We believe that Jesus is our Savior. They believe He's the Messiah.
Yeah.
So that's the key to them.
After the rapture, it'll go back to a work system whereby not taking the mark, you're actually doing something for your salvation.
Correct. But to be clear too, when we're in the millennial, there will be Jewish laws will be observed, and there will be a lot of people that are looking Jewish because that's going to be the law, and you have a Savior who made the law.
That's true.
Isn't that interesting? So you could almost see, but the Lord still knows the heart. He hasn't lost any power, you know. So we want to be clear on that. But we're actually not talking about Jews tonight at all. It's odd that you would be in a Bible study not talk about the Jews, and we're not really talking about the Jews. How could you not? It's the Bible, right? You know, this is these sections are the only thing that kind of looks at the rest of the world, and we got to be clear on that. Is that God is clear. Let's quote this here. For God so loved what?
World.
Oh, okay. Not just Israel.
He not
Right.
just one
Yeah,
section. He loves everyone and everything.
that's right. So the idea is it would make sense, even though there is a focus on the Jews, no doubt. There is the apple of his eye, covenants and all that we talk about. God has his eye on the rest of the world.
But from Daniel 8 on, it's all Hebrew.
Yeah,
So it's for the Jews.
exactly. Yeah, good
And
point.
prior to that, anybody that dies and says, well, I wasn't a Jew, but I was raised in Babylon, you didn't give me a fair shake.
Right.
God's going to say, wait a minute, what about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? What about King Nebuchadnezzar? What about Daniel, Lions Den? So a lot of it's different Aramaic and different languages because God wants them to know, you know. But now from Daniel 8 on, it's all Hebrew that Daniel started writing.
For the Jews.
Because it's for the Jews to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what's really cool about thinking about that is that we have the years of silence, then really we got the book of Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew is particularly to the Jew as well. But we find a lot of parables that really don't apply to us because there were so many Pharisees and the like that were actually going in and they were thinking my Judaism will get me to heaven. So you have the marriage supper. You heard somebody goes into the marriage supper and says, well, friend, where's your garment? your garment is the blood and righteousness of Jesus Christ. And they were trying to get on their Judaism. So Jesus says, nope, you're out, of the wedding. So we got to share that God is, I guess what I'm trying to be is he's consistent with his grace to people, you see. So we've got to go in and make sure that we don't think God is in some ways changed. He's always given grace to people. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord back in Genesis. All this kind of stuff. So grace is there's people that put, I like dispensations, which means you section off places, but grace has always been the case, throughout the universe that God has made. So there's not God is full of grace. Even the Old Testament God, right? We usually have an assumption that he's really mean, but he's graceful. So that's the one who found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So anyway,
when you follow dispensations, it's always God giving a covenant to someone.
Yeah.
And he's dispensing his grace. But there's no, the hyper dispensation was there's a set time when it stops and it starts, and that's not the way it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got to take it as there's a lot of things we want to also share that are somewhat right, and we have to adapt it to what the Bible says. We don't want to adapt opinion to the Bible. We want to adapt the Bible to our opinion. If that makes sense. So the Bible is the key. The Bible is the authority. So that's for everything here. And just our church here is really good because it was one I think I shared with probably everybody here that this is one of the only churches that said the Bible was the final authority. It was hard to find that in this city, among other cities. So it's pretty interesting. But let's go to Daniel chapter 8, if we could. Now, to summarize it real quick, we're going to talk about Xerxes, and then we're going to talk about Alexander the Great. And they're going to kind of allude to them in these different things, but then they'll interpret. Good thing Gabriel stops by. We'll find out in there. And then we're also going to find out in the latter part of the chapter, Antiochus Epiphanes, and who he's a shadow of. So that's kind of the summary of the entire chapter. What's that?
Found him later on myself.
Yeah, you'll find out what the Jews called him. That'd be interesting. So, who's got verses 1 through 4?
I do.
Okay.
In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time. I saw in the vision, and it so happened while I was looking, that I was in Shushan, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision that I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted my eyes and saw, and there, standing beside the river, was a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand, but he did according to his will and became great.
Thank you. I thought it interesting that Josephus, anybody know who Josephus is?
Historian
Mhm.
of the time prior to the Bible times.
That's right. He actually thought Daniel was not having a vision, but was almost like, now I don't know if he can say authority, but I like the colorfulness. He actually thought that God did transport Daniel to this river that he starts out with. I thought that was like almost we were just talking about with Philip and everything. Now I don't know if I believe that because Josephus is not an inspired writer, he's a historian, like you said. But I thought it was neat to know that, I'll share this. When I was about 15 or so, I had a dream where I was put someplace. It wasn't even a biblical dream, didn't really mean much. But I remember actually, in my hands, I felt like I was touching sand, and sand was in my hand. So, not saying I was there or anything, but it was so real. And but it wasn't any vision or purpose. It was just I felt I was on a seashore. Nothing was out there. It was just maybe at nighttime. But I felt the sand. Is my point is like, so you can, have very real dreams and visions and God speaking to you. But Josephus says he was actually there. So it's interesting. And God can do anything. God has power to. Isn't it interesting too that God can do universal things and personal things? In that we sometimes think God, if he's going to do something big, he's going to do it universally. And we have a problem with faith for him working in us personally. And he does the best job and the best work personally versus universally, if you think about it.
Wow, we're going 66.7 thousand miles an hour.
Yeah, that's right.
3,000 miles an hour is faster than a bullet.
Yeah,
So if you're standing in space, you would not see the world.
yeah,
I mean, it depends on how close you are, but you just go right by you, but like a bullet, you
Right,
wouldn't see it.
right.
And that's been going on all through Daniel.
yeah.
Every time we read something, the world is still traveling. And
That's it.
moving fast.
Holding all those molecules together.
Yeah.
So where is Daniel in this passage 1 through 4?
By the river.
By the river. Get like what country it kind of shares that? By the river for sure. Sounds like a song. By the river.
He
You
was
know.
at Shushan,
Shushan.
Shushan. Where is Shushan?
the province of Elam.
Elam. And who was also in Shushan, and God bless you. You know. Anybody know?
Belshazzar.
Belshazzar. Okay. I mean, other biblical characters were there too. Anybody? Any guesses? It was a Persian royal city. Give you a bit of a hint. You might know a little girl named Esther. Yeah, she was in there. You might know a man. He had a couple of things to do named Nehemiah.
Okay.
You know, that was his city too. Outside of the Bible, who's heard of the Code of Hammurabi? Anybody ever heard of that? That is the basically it comes from the Bible, but the code was a Babylonian code. In effect, it was the first codified laws that were written down. So that was found in this area too. So now, in reality, we know it's a whole thing, but the Bible started with like in Genesis and things. We know that, but the codifying of law gave Babylon its laws after all of the evolution of the types of laws and things. So God started everything, but Babylon made up it was preserved through Babylon. And they find this in a lot of our law systems comes from the Code of Hammurabi, which is a Babylonian system. But don't think for a minute that it started there because God is the one who started it, and then it ended up there to somebody who wanted to put it down. So very old system. It was 1901 they found it. So there we go. Let's see. Now let's see. I think somebody had Daniel 7:5. Oh, yeah. 7 what? Oh,
7:5.
7:5. Okay.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
Okay. So at the beginning of this 3 to 4, verses 3 to 4 particularly, we're talking about not yet the Alexander the Great, but we're talking about Media and Persia. So he was still kind of realizing what they call, there was a great, Daniel was in the thick of one of the most glorious empires in the world that has ever been. If Daniel didn't have faith, he would, again, we see a lot of things, go to DC, go different places, you think, these buildings will never crumble, right? These will last forever. You might say to yourself, they're so great and grand. Go to Europe or something. And Daniel probably had that temptation, but he knew that God was true. He's but he was seeing that this was one of the powerful empires. How could it die? And in effect, this chapter is about how empires die and rise and die again. In many ways. So.
They said they had a feet of a bear.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel 7:5.
Yep.
That's Russia. And that's the man that
That's
walked
exactly.
like a bear.
Mhm.
So if you study chapter 7, that bear has 3 ribs in his mouth.
Mhm.
Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia.
Yep.
3 of them. And when they tried to break away from the Communist Union, they right away attacked them and tried to keep them back in.
Mm.
And so, yeah. And so I've got Daniel 7:6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can. Let's see. That'll be for next section there,
Okay,
but
all right.
because they're going to jump in there. So, but yeah, good point about Russia, because the Russian bear. If we think of Russia, the Russian animal, it's a bear, isn't it?
It is.
And a lot of mascots, the Russian bear and things like that. So that that is the area. Russia, not deep into Russia like Siberia, but we're talking about that middle of Europe, Kazakhstan, and all the stands and that area. As we're talking about, some towards more India, because they didn't extend. They couldn't live up there, say in Siberia back at the time, so they had to kind of stay in that little circle, that little band. So that's where these large empires were. The two horns, were they equal or unequal?
One was higher than
One was higher than the other. It means unbalanced. So it's kind of, they look at Media and Persia, because Persia gobbled up Media and became the full empire, but still there were aspects of it, so it was kind of unbalanced, like the bear was lumbering. The ram that it's talking about too is the guardian spirit of Persia. So the general that would go ahead of the Persian army would not wear a helmet; he would wear a ram's head. So it was very much so. This was Daniel may have known this, being involved in government. So when he's talking about, he really is connecting the dots. Oh, I get it. So this ram's head goes right in front of the army. So and they wouldn't. The general wouldn't be on the front lines. He'd be kind of sitting at the top where everybody could see the ram's head and making sure that power was shown. So like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Xerxes was the person with whom Esther was married to. Remember that? Xerxes, and that he was the king of Persia. This is after Belshazzar, after Cyrus, and who's ever seen 300, the movie, or heard of it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've heard.
So Xerxes was the one that the Greece actually went in and defeated the army. 300 doesn't show that. Actually, it shows them being defeated, but history will tell us that Greece waited till this huge army could only go into a narrow passageway, and Greece had one of its first victories defeating the Persian army. And Xerxes was lost to power because of their. And then when he heard about that, it was interesting that he went out and beat the waves with his belt. The history says so. He heard it. Just you ever see some of these shows where the guy does like Christmas Vacation, where he's out there kicking the reindeer and everything. So this is Xerxes when he lost and everything. So that is kind of that picture. Okay. So let's read the next chapter. Who's got 5 through 12? Or next section, 5 through 12.
And I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of the hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and he was strong. The great horn was broken, and before it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven, and out of one of them came forth a little horn which waxed exceeding great forward toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Thank you. Well, it skips over into some of the things there, but this other Ram had a Hemi in it, right? So, like a Dodge Ram has a Hemi, so just throwing that out. So, it was going faster than the previous Ram because we were comparing that to a bear. Okay. I guess, yeah, read 7:6 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
It says, after this I beheld and another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Mm.
The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So when you read Daniel 7, to me, and you can answer this, Charlie, he's describing, with the Antichrist
Yes.
is the 3 animals. The feet of a bear, he's a communist.
Right.
When the human's ready to bring him in, he's going to come in.
Yeah.
The leopard, the black spots, and
Mhm.
the white belly, and the brown, we've got that's kind of like America. We've got a mixed match, a hodgepodge of different, melting pot. And he has the mouth of a lion. That's English speaking, because English speaking is going to be, when he comes, it's going to be the predominant language.
Right.
And you're talking, he's got 4 wings. So if that body is leopard is talking about America, then we've already got the 250 states plus the 2 wings, the Hawaii and
Oh, that's right.
and Alaska. We're waiting for 2 more. They haven't come yet. I will tell you that when Costco trucks pull up, sometimes you see the Canadian flag. They're trying to make Canada another wing of America.
Greenland too.
Yeah. And so we don't know if Mexico, whatever.
Yeah.
We're waiting for those 2.
Mhm.
So when you're seeing Daniel 7, God is showing, what the end, the Antichrist. But when we read Daniel 8, he's telling the Jews, look, Alexander the Great's coming. You're going to be, the known language back then was the Koine Greek language. When
That's right.
when Alexander the Great, at 32 years old, came up to Israel, the priests were going, oh no, he's going to kill us, what's going to happen? And he bowed to the priest. He didn't overtake Israel.
Right.
See? And so you've got, and where Rome comes from, right? So Alexander the Great has 4 generals, and a couple of them started Rome,
Right.
So, and when he was on his deathbed, some say he died of syphilis,
Yeah.
he was very promiscuous, but we don't know. But we do know that he died at a young age.
Yeah.
Conquered the unknown world. So the Jews are concerned with this. Why? Because they're going to be speaking the Greek language, and Alexander the Great coined the Greek, the Koine Greek language.
Right.
And all of these different things that we get from that. But we're seeing 3 beasts here,
Right.
and it kind of sums up the Antichrist.
Well,
Daniel 7.
And all these are precursors. Yeah, that's right. Anything that we're seeing here now, the Antichrist is going to be worse. Okay, is the point, or not necessarily even worse. All these guys are pretty bad, but just a focus, obviously. But let's go back to our statue in Daniel chapter 2. We had Babylon, gold. We had Persia, which was what? Brass. Okay, and then we had a third one, which now we're talking about Greece. If you didn't catch it, bronze. Yeah. Well, I thought one was
And the breastplate's silver.
silver. Yes, right, silver. And then we're going. So Greece is the 3rd kingdom. You can say Rome will come after. We get that, but we're now talking about Greece. If I talk Turkey, is that foul language? Just curious. No, I'm just, all right. This is truly because Alexander the Great, he conquered. He started at age 20, and he conquered all opposing empires. He died at about 32, and when he finished conquering at such a young age, he cried. He says there were no more worlds left to conquer, because he was so prideful in what he could do with his armies. So he's parallel to the 3rd beast, and also the leopard's wings are for him too, because of those 4 generals. And we're talking about 4 winds, 4 horns. 4 generals is what he left his army to. So when he was on his bed, probably syphilis. He said, somebody asked him, who's going to lead your army? He said, give it to the strong, because he knew that he was no more powerful than his generals. So, but there's another. This is applicable to us as Christians, but it was a legend for Alexander the Great. So, a deserter was brought one time before him, and they said, "This guy is deserting the army, and we want to bring him before Mr. Prince Alexander, to really judge him or whatever." And the guy asked, first thing he said, "What is your name?" He said, "Alex." It was the deserter's name. And he said, and he asked him that 3 times. He got madder each time he said it. And he finally said, he spared him, but he said, "Change your name or change your conduct." So the moral of the lesson is, what was brought out in this story was, what is your name? Christian. Are you a deserter? And he basically, the lesson out of that a lot of Christians use is that change your name or change your conduct. If you got the name, because look at what all Alexander did, and in effect what Christ did, and your name is just like his, and you're not a reflection of your name.
Yeah.
So, and in reality, when, like we talked about this before, but back in the day, you would say, "Oh God," and be like, Grandma would like, "Oh, don't take God's name in vain." That's not what God was talking about at all in the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. It was about taking God's name and, in effect, not being a good witness. That's bottom line. So God wants you to be a witness for him. Because if you have his name on your heart, like Jesus gave you salvation by grace, you're wearing his name all around. And if you don't act like your name and your conduct is not becoming of the name, then you need to, you're taking it in vain.
You see
So-
the 3 colors of the leopard.
Yep.
Black.
Mhm.
Can a leopard change his spots?
Mm.
The Bible says.
That's right.
Jeremiah says, "Can Ethiopia change his ways?"
Yeah.
And God's showing you something.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses animals.
Mm.
And those black spots are what we call a rosetta.
Mm.
Sort of
That's
look,
right.
some of them are dark black and circular.
Mm.
Some of them look like lips.
That's right. Yeah.
Ham settled near the equator.
Mm.
See? And you've got African Americans with the bigger nose. They need that big nose to have the cool air come
Mhm.
through. Japheth, white, that's the underbelly of the leopard.
Yeah.
Settled in the Netherlands,
Mm.
Swedish area, the Caucasian white.
In a sweet area.
Yeah, Mercedes, and there we get, it's not a car, it's a Mercedes,
Yeah.
and they've got, the astrology and all this, the Germanic people.
Mhm.
But the brown, Shem,
Mm-hmm.
the middle son
Right.
was worshiping, like Noah. He wanted to know the things of God,
Mm-hmm.
Shem. And he wanted to know from Noah how to worship God, how to do the sacrifices. And that's the bloodline where Abraham comes from in the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Brown, red, brown, yellow, black, and white.
That's
They are precious in his
That's
sight.
right.
Jesus loves the little children of the world. And the mouth of the leopard is a lion, and the lion comes
No, I didn't hear
from
that.
England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you look
Oh,
at the
well,
leopard
yeah,
here.
that makes
So
sense.
the English flag
Mhm.
has the lion. America comes from the old lions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the English speaking. And of course, he's talking about the Antichrist, that whole system and his communism.
Yeah.
It's going to be take the mark. Everybody have one mark. Everybody have a one world government, a one world nation, a one world religion. And he's got the feet of a bear.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right behind the scenes of the UN, and whenever they're ready, come on, he can come on the world stage. He is ready.
Well, the thing is that, well, I'll say that there have been, the devil does not know when the rapture is coming, just like us. We're guessing. We assume, we're watching and waiting. He's also doing the same thing. So you would say 100 years ago, is the Antichrist coming? I say, yeah. You say it now. I say, yeah. Because the devil is actually putting always setting up his pawns, his chess pieces to be ready. All he needs is the rapture to come. We're out, and then he sets it in. So there's always, if people were thinking the Antichrist is somebody, it could have been Hitler. Had God decide, we don't know when the rapture is, God decided to take us up, it could have been Hitler. It could have been Stalin. You name your dictator. But it didn't happen, so thus they had to be defeated, and thus life goes on until the marker of any of this stuff we're talking about is the rapture. Because Thessalonians tells us that when the Spirit comes out, then all the gates flow free. But we find out that the 4 heads, 4 horns, Capricorn which is the kind of the ram, is the city, the symbol of Macedonia, Greek, one of the Greek capitals. So the four generals that left, Cassander was in Greece, Lysimus was in Asia Minor. I don't know how you had an Asia Major. Where's Asia Minor? Major. I don't know. Anyway. And then there's Seclusus, which is India basically, and Syria. Ptolemy, which is that has a P on his name, even though it's Ptolemy with a T. Weird enough. He actually got Egypt and Israel area. Okay. And so this is where we're talking when they took the. You'd figure it'd be easy. Okay, he says, give it to the strong, 4 generals, Alexander the Great. You know how long it took to divide up the empire? 22 years. So as long as Alexander's campaigns was how long it took for everybody, the dust to settle and everybody to stop squabbling. So he was already dead, so these guys that were doing it. And it didn't last too long because another guy named Antiochus Epiphanes came in. He defeated Ptolemy, who had, of course, the Egypt and Assyrian time. You know what Epiphanes means? It means illustrious one. So we find, what is it, over in Cambodia, we have Pol Pot. Pol Pot meant political potential. That's why he called himself Pol Pot. And so the same thing here with Antiochus Epiphanes. He wanted his name to be known from everybody. And what he did, we kind of know him too, but in a different way. He was the brother of Cleopatra. Okay? And he murdered his own brother, which was the rightful heir to his own Grecian, and he used flattery and bribery and corruption. So what happened is to the point of the Antichrist again, we're looking at types of the Antichrist, and that's why that beast, the fourth beast in the last chapter, was so terrible, because it almost combined all the beasts in one, you see. And so it took, we can have a lot of guys that maybe did some decent work, did some good buildings, or had a great army, but they were bad in this area. So this guy was bad. So the Antichrist is going to take all the bad stuff and kind of put it all in one. So that's basically why we're getting all this. So he's going to be the worst. He came to power, Antiochus. He defeated Ptolemy, which was the general, remember, before your eyes go glass-eyed over all the history, just, that's what God was actually telling us, that we found out. It's so accurate, Daniel's basically symbolism. They thought Daniel was written after in the New Testament era because all that stuff had happened, and it was like he was writing in the past. And Daniel was completely accurate because he had a divine vision from the Lord.
But after Russia became communists,
Yep.
North China followed suit,
Yep.
and then you've got Vietnam and North Korea, and now perhaps the greatest communist nation in the world is America. Spanberg was elected.
Yeah, that's right.
She's going to want transgender bathrooms. She's going to everything is being set. New York is actually communist right now.
That's right.
Just don't know it until it bites them on the rear end. It's going to be too late.
And that's usually what happens with communism. It sounds good, and then
it's persecution. I can talk about God now. I voted for Trump. Oh, you must be one of those right-wing Christian. And it's just getting to the point where it's just America's becoming communist.
Yeah.
And when the Antichrist comes in, he's going to have a one-world government, one world religion, and a one-world economy.
Well, Billy Graham always was famous for saying, if God doesn't judge America, then he's going to have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sure.
So that's one of the things. But I think that we don't know where America plays, like we were talking about before, we don't know where America plays into the end times. So we're going to have to trust the Lord into that. But so here's what we had with this is kind of what the Antichrist will do. The Jews called him Antiochus Epiphanes. It's not Epiphanes, but Epiphanes. Anybody know what that means or have heard that title before? It means madman. So they called him a madman, Jews did. And what's that? Epiphanes, yeah. Sounds like Epiphanes? Sounds like somebody should say with their country accent, Epiphanes coming over here. So But he was bad, obviously. They said, so was my accent. Huh? Anyway, he magnified himself. So here's what this, out of all that you're going to learn about the Antichrist, a big piece, and a big piece of the communism piece that we're talking of badness, is stopping of the daily sacrifices. That is a big one. And, because a lot of times what happened, Rome and all these guys that are going through, they still let the Jews be Jews. They said, okay, give some homage to me, you go do your thing, I'll do my thing. But when you stop the daily sacrifice, you're actually stopping religion. There's other parts in Daniel that we'll talk about when we get to those chapters where the Antichrist is going to try to change the times and the seasons. And so he's going to change things because he decides it to be there. Let me give you a real a real cool thing. Do you realize when's Thanksgiving this year?
It's always on a Thursday.
Third Thursday.
The 20th.
It's the fourth Thursday. Somebody has enough power somewhere, maybe unintentional, to change it to be for the third Thursday.
I thought.
If I'm wrong,
Thanksgiving's
then
the
let me
last
know.
Thursday.
Is it the fourth Thursday?
Wasn't it always the last Thursday? I thought?
Either the third or the last, but not.
Okay, well, somebody maybe find out, because then my point, well, I hope it comes in my favor because my point is made better. So, but I thought the holiday said it was the third Thursday of the month of November, and that would have been this coming here. And then we usually had like a week, but maybe it was the last Thursday. Okay. But anyway, if you think about the power, somebody who changes calendars can actually have a lot of power, can't they? If I decided I wanted, and I'm at the base point on all 2026 calendars, if I said I wanted it on December 1st, I could literally do that.
That's what they do. The French
It's been
Revolution.
on the last Thursday the last 4 years.
Okay, so the last Thursday. So in effect, yeah, okay. So
Well,
that makes sense. I'm glad.
In my phone, it said Thursday, November 27th, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and that's the fourth Thursday. So probably the last Thursday is the rule.
Speaking of metric system, the French didn't want, the French Revolution did not want anything to do with God.
Mm.
That's what that was all about.
Right.
They wanted to change the seventh day. They didn't want to make it that way.
Mhm.
All the 12 months, they did 12 tribes.
Mhm.
They didn't want anything. And our country was founded on faith
Yeah.
first,
Mhm.
and then family, and freedom.
Mm.
Theirs was, brotherhood, fraternity. They didn't want faith.
Mhm.
Alexis de Tocqueville, after the French Revolution,
Yeah,
Revolution, came over here, wrote a book. He was studying behavior patterns from,
Right.
prisons and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and reform.
Mhm.
And he ended up writing a book, Democracy in America. He traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast. And he said, America's genius lies not in her industry, in her safe harbors, but it's in her pulpits, in her churches. Her pulpits are flames of righteousness.
Right. Yeah. Well, if what they did with, say, things like COVID, things like that, what happens is your daily life with communism to that point is they come in, they change things that really hit you home of what you normally do. A lot of us don't care if something goes on in Hollywood, so to speak, and they start doing this or that. What do we do? We really react when it hits home, don't we? Whatever that looks like to you. So.
Taking the monuments down on
Mhm.
Richmond, and all the stuff.
Yeah, right in our own hometown. So all of that is that when they start doing that, but COVID was bad because they said don't go to church.
Mhm.
You know.
But you go
And,
to liquor stores.
yeah, that's right.
They were just saying,
That's why it didn't make no sense.
Yeah. So it was a test run, they
You do
say.
it for everything.
yeah.
Right. Now they were the other things he did was we already said change custom. He said stop offerings. He profaned the Sabbaths and defiled them too. They this guy who took over from that fourth general Ptolemy, Antiochus Epiphanes. He's a real. He sacrificed a pig on the altar.
Yes.
He went in and put a statue of Zeus in the Jewish temple.
The Maccabean War changed
Yep.
that.
Now here's guess who, what the Maccabeans, it was the family name. Guess who their hero was, and why you have a lot of people named after that in Bible times.
Jacob.
Judas.
Or Jews.
Judas. So why Judas was? You ever hear? There's a lot of Judas, like Thaddeus of the apostles, and of course our favorite, or least favorite, Judas Iscariot. All that was because of pay homage to Judas Maccabees and his family who went there. So the bottom line that you're right. He went too far, and he desecrated all these places, and
They cleansed the temple, now they
Yeah.
got Hanukkah.
that's right. Well, they went in and overthrew him, and they only had enough oil for, I think it was a day, and it lasted for 7 days, and that's why the day of Hanukkah. And they tell that story every time, and until they had enough to make more oil, so they couldn't. So that's where Hanukkah came in through these times, and that's where, again, in the middle of the Old and New Testaments. This is not, you're not going to see it where the thing.
Like 160 years before Christ.
Yeah, I think it's got 175-ish, about like that. Yeah, but you'll find Jesus celebrated Hanukkah because Hanukkah was actually before Jesus, if you didn't know. So, yeah, Festival of Lights, Feast of Lights.
I have your date
Yeah.
answered.
Oh,
It's not the last Thursday of the month. November has 30 days, so it sometimes has 5 Thursdays. If the month starts on a Sunday, the 5th Thursday lands on November 29th, making the 4th Thursday not the last one. The last Thursday rule was used before 1941,
Oh.
but it was changed to avoid shortening the holiday shopping season during the Great Depression.
yes.
It's also not the 3rd Thursday. That's a common mix-up, sometimes called the Mandela effect, but the official rule is specifically the 4th Thursday of the month.
Oh, there we go. Wow.
That's good.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody who did write that had a lot of time on their hands.
AI.
Yeah. AI. Okay. AI has too much time on its hands. Too much of our hands, probably, you could argue.
Yeah, the full
So-
birthday.
I'll never understand that.
So he put letters to do all this too. So he didn't just do it in Jerusalem. He put letters. So that we get he's a bad. Hey, he's a ram, so he's a bad guy. You know. So I got to say that.
The Seventh-day Adventist says you better remember every sin you do every day because Jesus is still cleansing the temple.
That's right.
Just look at him right in the eyes and go, that's very offensive to the Jews. The temple was cleansed 160 years before Christ, and he celebrated in John chapter 10. Next.
Well, I have a confession to y'all. I didn't write down where some of these verses that I gave y'all were. I forgot to do that. So somebody has Ezekiel verses. Who's got an Ezekiel verse?
And Ezekiel 3.
Okay. Got to do, because they're almost one of the same. If you could read that. What's Ezekiel 3 what?
23 through 27.
Okay.
No,
Ezekiel.
excuse me, 23 through 24.
Okay. You all right?
Ezekiel 2, 1 through 2.
What is it?
Ezekiel 2,
Uh-huh.
1 through 2.
Okay. Ezekiel 2, 1 through 2. Okay. Can you read your Ezekiel verse? The 30, was it 31?
23 through 24.
Okay. Is that Ezekiel 31?
No, it's 3.
Three.
3. Oh, I
You got it
think,
right.
oh wow. I don't think it was, anyway, read that. Yeah, because I don't think it'll come out the way I wanted it
Ezekiel. So I got up and went out
Oh, okay.
to the plain, and the glory of the Lord was standing there, like the glory I had seen by the Kebar River, and I fell face down. Then the Spirit came into me and raised me to my feet. He spoke to me and said, "Go, shut yourself inside your house."
Okay. Yeah, that was what I wanted. Yeah, because that's exactly what's going to happen to Daniel in the next few verses.
Which kind of tells you when the presence of God comes down, people say, I feel peace. No, the presence of God, when that comes down,
Mhm.
you buckle
Yeah.
under the weight. The
That's
presence
right.
of God has weight.
That's it.
The peace you're feeling is because you got right with God. He's already perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you get right with God, then you feel peace.
Mm.
But before that, you buckle because it has weight to it.
Mm.
You see Ezekiel falling down.
But his burden is easy and his yoke is
Sure,
light.
yeah.
So,
Exactly.
but it does so. But you don't mind. It's like a nice, good weighted blanket. It'll keep you warm. You know. Anyway, let's see. So who got the next Ezekiel? 2, 1 through 2. You said.
Yes.
Okay.
And he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me when he spake unto me, and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spake unto me.
Mm. You really good job spanking.
Spake.
You know. It sounds like Forrest Gump. Where you get on a bus, spanking. You know, the taking, like that. So anyway, let us continue. Who's got 13 through 14?
I do.
Okay.
Then I heard one saint speaking, And another saint said unto that certain saint, which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
Okay. So a couple of things there. There is interpretations, and I think it might mean both, because I get them mixed up, to be honest. There's a deriving that the Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot is the last 3.5 years of the Antichrist, the application for future, but also the implication is the destruction of the temple as well, a little later too. So there's two places, because remember, they were, when Rome came into power, the Jews lost their scepter, meaning their right to complete the law, or to have the judgment of the law, which was stoning, like we all kind of know the Old Testament Jews to do, blasphemy and all that. They couldn't do that anymore. It was in the Roman control, and that was part of the Genesis prophecy through Jacob himself, that when they would lose control, that's when Shiloh or the Messiah would come. So that's a part of that. So some people take that to be all of that, and then finally the temple was destroyed, the Jews' temple, in 70 A.D. And then they kind of include that 2,000 years was right about where we are now. That in effect the end of the times of the Gentiles. So there's a couple of camps that takes it from that point on to you could. What I'm getting at is people could take the timeline and try to pinpoint the rapture, and pinpoint the second coming, if not the rapture, and people do that. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying that the times of the Gentiles are going to end. He's giving a finite reference to that. And then it's also to the point of some of the clock stopped in effect at grace, and then the clock will restart again at rapture.
Yes,
You
so
say.
Jesus was, because
Mhm.
Gabriel told Daniel, but the Messiah's cut off, but not
Right.
for himself.
That's right.
He's not
Amen.
a sinner.
Mhm.
That's kind of abomination there. That
Mhm.
when he's cut off, in other words, when he dies on the cross,
Mm.
he said, and then the 70th week will come. So there's an age of grace, the church
Right.
age. We don't know how long that is, but we've certainly been around,
Mhm.
2025 right now, But so he stops counting when he stops dealing with the Jews.
Right.
But he starts counting again when we rapture, because now he's got to deal with the Jews, and it's going to
That's
take
right.
him 7 years, Jacob's trouble,
Mhm.
Daniel's 70th week,
Yep.
which we're going to talk about next week,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
to get their heart turned around again. Jesus says flee when the abomination, in other words, when the Antichrist defecates the temple and says worship me, then they go away, but this is not the Messiah. At the middle of the tribulation, they flee to Petra.
That's right.
Right now, missionaries are putting Bibles with bookmarks in highlighted areas where they missed about the Messiah. So they're certainly going to know about the Messiah when they're Armageddon, and we come back with white horses with him after the 7-year tribulation. We're on a 7-year honeymoon, marriage supper of the Lamb, and when we come back, the Jews will say, "This is the Messiah."
Well, that last kingdom will be divinely judged. So we want to go in and make sure that again we're using all these idioms and symbols to point to what the Antichrist. And in fact, we're talking just about the animals now. We're going to be now introduced to a wonderful guy named Gabriel. Who heard of him? Anybody? Okay. And he's going to take it, and he's going to really tell the real interpretation. So who's got 15 through 19?
I do.
Okay.
While Daniel
Yeah.
was watching the vision and trying to understand it, there before me stood who looked like a man. And I heard a man's voice from the Ulai calling, "Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of the vision." As he came near the place where I was standing, I was terrified and fell prostrate. "Son of man," he said to me, "understand that the vision concerns the time of evil." While he was speaking to me, I was in a deep sleep, with my face to the ground. Then he touched me and raised me to my feet. He said, I am going to tell you what will happen later in the time of wrath, because the vision concerned the appointed time of the end.
All right. Now, this was a point of contention. Last time we did this, remember that, Janice? Remember that? See, it's funny how the things you remember you don't remember.
That's exactly.
So it's we were over the house on who these two different guys are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
do
was took a
remember
while.
that,
Yeah, that was a while. And you were included too, honey, because you were siding with your husband, which is a great day. So I love that part. So what we were saying, we were really just having some fun, is who here, because Jesus is here. You see, this is opinion, view. In 15, it says, I, Daniel, saw a vision, seeking a meaning, and suddenly there stood before one having the appearance of a man. Okay? And maybe that's Gabriel. Then I heard a man's voice between the banks say, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So the thought process was this man who we saw on the banks and that commanded Gabriel to give the vision, the thing is who can command Gabriel is the point.
Right.
So it is only Jesus.
Exactly.
So, but I think I was in the wrong too. What I was saying, I really wanted to. You want to find Bible parallels so bad you can just pick them out. So you got to watch out. Remember the guy who said, "I'm just not really going to study. I'm going to close my eyes and turn." Remember that guy? And he said, Judas went out and hanged himself, and then he turned another one because that didn't work, and he says, "Go and do likewise." So so that type of one here too. So I was doing that. Where I was saying, I wanted to, remember in Revelation where Jesus put his hand on John and it woke him up? This is actually Gabriel, but I wanted to put at that point we were talking to Jesus. So I was wrong in that sense, because I think...
Jesus, because he falls down on
Right.
his face. He doesn't do that when Gabriel talks to him.
Right. But Gabriel is helping him. He falls down to that point. Yeah, that's agreement. And then Gabriel picks him up.
Right.
Okay, but I was saying that it was akin to where he puts his hand on his shoulder and Gabriel was Jesus, and that's not the case here. I think that's clear. But he falls down because he knows it's Jesus, to your point you just made. So the man is Jesus, is what we're saying, and he's the one commanding Gabriel, this is the first time Gabriel's name is revealed. We know Gabriel is a pretty famous angel. And he's pretty high up angel, says nobody's going to tell Gabriel what to do except Jesus. So that's why he's going, hey, help this guy. And he fell on his face and things of that nature because he was there. And when he wakes him up, it's not really makes him upright. The wording is understanding. Once you get something, isn't it kind of cool when you get it? Husbands need to get it sometimes. They don't get it all the time.
No.
Oh, Jason's not here too. So the thing is that we want to be clear that Gabriel was talking to him and doing what Jesus said, interpreting the dream, and sharing that this is a future prophecy that you're kind of already going to see. Well, everything was future with Daniel past Persia anyway. So we don't think Daniel lived past the Persian Empire. I don't think we have anything of him living past that, because he's already 80.
I haven't seen anything so far.
Yeah.
As I read.
Right. You didn't see anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm still
Yeah.
looking into it.
Well,
so far, so
well, if he was 80 at Belshazzar, and then you have Cyrus, he probably had a few. He maybe had 100 years. Let's give him,
Yeah.
and he might have made it to, Xerxes, where we talked about.
Double check to make sure.
Yeah, double check that. That's good. So anyway, so there we go. Gabriel shares that right now this is called local fulfillment. What do I mean when I say local fulfillment?
It's in that certain area. So
Yeah, in that certain time frame. So you have a future fulfillment and then a local fulfillment, meaning that it's the future within your lifetime, or some once or twice removed from you in the near future.
Yeah.
Like it's like the candy now and later. This is for now and this is later, right? So
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead. No, ask that. Go ahead.
There was when we were going back to Gabriel and him touching Daniel.
Okay.
Did Jesus send that spirit through Gabriel too?
Well, Gabriel's a powerful angel.
Yeah.
Um,
Or how did that work out? That's just quick, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. To Jared was saying, and we were saying here that because he knew who the man was on the river shore, that he was saying, "Hey, that's Jesus. I'm going to bow before him." Then Gabriel was saying, "Okay, kind of get up, and let's do what Jesus said. I'm going to show you what's going on." And then so he had understanding. So the all is for Jesus, but Gabriel's pretty powerful too. Not that he did anything. What the wording is the key. He's saying he helped Daniel understand. He gave
Okay.
that. But to that point, what you're saying, because he's beloved, he had the Holy Spirit. Don't
Right.
interpret that too. So that
Yeah,
Gabriel didn't
that's
give
what
it to him.
My mind was thinking.
Yeah.
Spirit through,
Well, see, let's be clear. Daniel already had the Spirit.
yeah.
Gabriel just kind of was the tool that God asked him to be to give the interpretation.
Right.
That's where we got to be clear. That's why we can't worship pastors. And even in Revelation, don't worship me. We're all servants together. You know, so we a lot of people worship pastors and, oh my goodness, my pastor did this. Yeah, he's probably a really good man, but what really did that was the Holy Spirit that you got saved from
The pastor
by
is
grace.
the messenger.
Yes,
That's what
exactly.
I was thinking, you know,
Exactly.
God, you know, delivers the message,
Mhm.
and just communicate.
He's the instrument.
He's the instrument.
Yeah, God placed some good instruments there.
He does.
Jesus
And that's
Jesus-
where my,
Jesus was there because he said, Gabriel, make this man understand.
Yeah.
And here's the deal, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Goliath.
Mhm.
He had the voice of many waters.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
Good
that's
point.
Jesus Christ right there.
Very good point.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face.
Yep.
And he said, but he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time of the end shall be the vision. And he says, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground.
Yep.
You know, John felt like a sack of potatoes in Revelation in front of Jesus.
That's right.
He said, right, you know, he fell down. And, you know, on the ground. But he touched me and he made me upright. That was Jesus Christ.
Well, there's a lot of places where you really, when you're talking prostrate on the ground, you're as low as you can go, so to speak. You know, and you're not really even kneeling. You're kind of just as far down because you're going as humble as we can.
But he was asleep, so he was knocked out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So much in awe. Luke 1:19. Who's got that?
I got it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good.
For a minute. These are very short, like real short. I had it and I lost it. Oh, I got it.
Perry could be a good baseball announcer.
Yeah. With these pages separated, huh? Love how they stick like crazy glue. One page, I can get it out.
That's funny. Very, you're funny.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get this one page.
What?
That's
funny.
Now I got you.
He's working that word. Good job. What is that? What is that on that? Why are they sticking together?
It sticks. Alright,
Okay.
119.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
got it?
Yep.
And the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and I am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings.
So, he was pretty much a bearer of good news, a messenger, Gabriel, as we know. He really did have. Michael had some territory, like Israel. He's and the army leader and all like that. Gabriel was the master messenger, you know, of the Lord. So definitely something from the Lord came from him because he commanded him to take it. And that was always his job. Mary, he got to announce the Savior. He got to announce John the Baptist or the baptizer. So we got that. Okay, 20 through 22. Who's got that? Oh, did we do 15 through 19, right? Oh, and then 20 through 22.
I have,
Okay.
and the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. and the great horn that is between his eyes is bursting. And the rough goat is a king of Ararat. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Okay. And who's got the remainder, 23 through 27?
I do.
Okay.
In the latter part of their reign, when rebels have become completely wicked, a fierce-looking king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause astounding devastation and will succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy those who are mighty, the holy people. He will cause deceit to prosper, and he will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. Yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power. The vision of the evenings and the mornings that has been given you is true. But seal up the vision, for it concerns the distant future. I, Daniel, was worn out. I lay exhausted for several days. Then I got up and went about the king's business. I was appalled by the vision, and it was beyond understanding.
Okay. So a couple of things here with these two passages we kind of ended or have within it, but not by its power. What does that mean? So basically, this section, not by its power. This says, not by its power. What am I talking?
Human power?
Human power? Well, it was not of human power. Okay. So we're first talking, in effect, this is kind of like the interpretation of the local. We said local, the right now. Okay. So he's telling what's going to happen in the near future. And these people are going to come, but not by their power. And then this is really the crutch. It's a shame we don't have more time to develop. But 23 to 27 is certainly the way in the future. We haven't seen him yet, Antichrist. You know. So the idea is that you will find, I'm going to disagree with a lot of commentary about this, and you'll agree with me, I would hope. They say that Satan is behind the Antichrist, which is true, but what I'm getting at is not by his own power here, not by his own power here. Whose power would it be?
God.
It would be God.
Yeah.
People are always going straight to Satan for saying this here. I get, meaning that Satan is giving his power, but throughout Revelation, throughout everything, he was He was allowed to do it. We see verses in this.
That's where I was coming
Yeah.
from on that a little bit.
So he is allowed to have. They're allowed to go to power and allowed to rise and fall. Remember, we find Proverbs. The hearts of the kings are turned. Mm-hmm. They rise and fall, all by God's power. They rise and fall. The Antichrist will rise and fall and be destroyed specifically by God's power. So we don't want to even think to give these guys any credibility is the bottom line.
God just lets go the leash just a little bit on the
Yeah.
pit bull, and the pit bull goes and then he pulls the leash back.
That's
Well,
right.
God allow him to do it
Yeah.
because they need to fulfill what God wanted.
Right. Here's the thing: if we would get it, then he wouldn't have to fulfill it, in that sense. But he knew we wouldn't get it, so he's got to fulfill it. So that's. Aren't we so hard? It's because of our hard head that he's got to do all this stuff to make it fulfilled. So he said he's just going to do it. So I blame you all.
That's true. Because he's got to get our attention some of the way.
Right. Let's go into we get to finish out some. Who's got Revelation 13:7?
I have that.
Okay.
Well, God's not gonna let one sin go unpunished.
That's right. Amen.
A piece of it's gonna be judged.
What is
And
that?
it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
So kind of like reiterating what happened before. Who's got Revelation 13:5?
I do.
Okay.
And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months.
Now I've There was actually people, and you would suppose that Trump was the blaster saying boisterous things. There was actually a website that actually, just by logic, not by bias, because they said Trump could not be it. And I'd like to look at that again, just to kind of reiterate. And it mentioned several people that were actually some good people. It just mattered of opinion, kind of like a Trump thing, that they wanted to put as in power as the Antichrist. So it's going to be a specific pattern of events, and they went through it. I thought it was interesting. It's a lot to sit through, but if you're a nerd or a geek, you can do that. If you want to see it, I'll send it to you. But anyway,
The last Trump.
yeah. Well, 1317. Who's got that?
I do.
Okay.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
All right. And then who's got? Forgot about 6. Who's got Revelation 6? 5 is it?
I've got Revelation 6, 3 through 4.
3 through 4. Yes. All right. One all. Yep.
And it says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him, that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword.
Okay.
And,
Is that the white horse or the red horse?
well, the white horse is in verse 2.
Oh, okay. That's what I was looking for some reason. I don't know. That's read the white horse. That's where we want.
Okay, yeah.
Please,
So,
yeah.
And let me just say one thing, in Revelation 5, the Bible says that every saint is up there worshiping God.
That's right.
So that means the rapture's already taken place, and then we see
Yep.
that in Revelation 6, verse 2, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, which we're all gonna see that.
Yeah.
He's gonna be dispatched,
Mm-hmm.
and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering him to conquer. So we'll be worshiping God, and then God goes, go, and we all go, all right, he's done, and he's like, okay, I'm going,
Mhm.
and he trips over into heaven, hey, I don't go away, and he goes down to earth, and that's when we see that white horse, which is the Antichrist.
That's right. And a lot of people will picture that as Jesus in the second coming. That is not.
Mhm.
It is certainly the Antichrist. He's there as a peaceful person, looking like Jesus or looking like a Messiah, for sure. He's going to have Satan's power, but again, he was allowed. That's the key word here, allowed, because God is allowing him. He's going to take away the tradition and the might, and talks about the holy people. The holy people are Jews and Gentiles, because we are the holy people. We are the saints. Okay? So just to be clear. All right? He wins through peace. He magnifies himself until he loses about 3 of his guys. He starts out with 10 guys, remember we talk about? He loses about 3 of them, potentially United States even, or something, because 7 stay with him to the end of the whole 7 years. 3 he loses, likely the Jews, because he just proclaimed himself Messiah in 3.5. He's going to then challenge overall, because he blasphemes heaven, it talks about 2, and then Christ is going to come give him his due. That kind of rhymes. The Prince of Princes, which is Jesus, will break him. The implication is easily. It might even say easily. So it's don't worry about. You think Jesus is going to be subdued by Satan at all or stopped? Of course not. God is going to have his plan, and he's going to destroy him. He's going to promise false security. He's going to be intelligent, persuasive, obviously controlled by Satan. He's going to be averse to Israel and tradition, and he's going to be terminated by divine judgment. So. Did anybody have any verses that we didn't go over, by the way? What do you got?
I have Revelation 17:11.
Oh, yeah, do that. I forgot about that.
And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.
Okay. So there is a little horn coming out of the 7 beasts that stick with him. And that's exactly what we're talking about, to bring those 2 together.
And the proof that we're gonna be all in heaven before the Antichrist is right here in verse 9 of chapter 5. And they
Yeah.
sang a new song saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nations.
That's right.
Everybody that's ever been saved in every dispensation.
Right.
From Adam and Eve all the way up will be there. The rapture has to be before, and then because in chapter 6, the Antichrist Antichrist is released, we are up in heaven before them. We will not know who that Antichrist is.
That is
That's
the-
my argument right there, and I will go to the grave. and
So we're in
take
the
it to my grave.
dispensation nation, huh?
Yeah.
That's right.
Unless somebody proves differently, this is where we
Well,
are.
so here's we'll make the last point, or a couple here, is that it was overwhelming for Daniel, we could see, because he still went ahead. Things are overwhelming for you. You know it's of God. He's spoken to you, even though it's kind of harsh. Maybe he still went to do the right things. God gave him strength to do his daily, and he still prayed. Remember, this same Daniel is praying 3 times a day. So he still did all that he was supposed to do. He didn't shirk from it. And he said, "Oh, I'm so hurt. Oh, give me whining and everything." No, God is here to give you strength to do your daily. The other part is he's told to seal up in verse 26 some of this message, you see. So John is the privilege to elaborate more on Revelation 13. That's, again, your homework. Like we said last week, go read Revelation 13, and you'll find out more about this guy. Now, interestingly enough, we have later in Revelation, John from the Seven Thunders is actually, their message was sealed up. And interestingly enough, Revelation is the last book, so we won't know until it actually happens what the Seven Thunders in Revelation said. So there's a couple of times where God is saying, seal it up, don't tell it for now, because it's better when, in this case, where in 26, John is going to reveal where Daniel stopped. You see, that's the point. God says, I have timing for all of this. Because Daniel told you enough. Probably, like I said, you're like a deer in the headlights if you listen to all this stuff, and you probably bang your head against the wall. What does this mean if you didn't know? You know, and so he had a stopping point. Even Daniel was like that. So the idea is God only gives what we can handle in that sense. He stretches us for sure, but the idea is like he wants you to grow, but he's not going to give you too much where you won't grow. That's the idea. Catch me? You'll get enough to grow, but if he'll know the adjustment in your life to give you enough so he can make you grow. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So he won't give you, he'll stretch you, but he won't do it. Oh, 8:30? All right.
Has anybody ever talked to anybody that has believed in the mid-trib?
We have people, legacy members of this class that are like that. A lot of times in churches too, yeah.
Show them verse 9.
Yeah.
Why are we all in heaven worshiping God?
Yeah.
And this is before the Antichrist, the white horse.
Some
That's
some
right.
people believe that this is the tribulation time.
Yeah. They amillennialists.
Uh-huh.
We have so many
Yeah.
amillennialists,
We're in
post-millennials.
heaven- We're in heaven way before that, right here, verse 9.
Mm.
Show 'em.
We have the Washington Post here. Who would like to close in prayer? Oh, you went, all right. Look at that. All right.
Lord, it was a nice day. Thank you for everybody's learning today. Thank you for when somebody died, take good care of them, and we learn about the Bible. And we love you, and when somebody is mad, it's God still loves you, and whoever God still loves you. And their families, they love you, to everybody, and to and then for everybody, thank you for this day, and I'm happy present with the 21st war. I love you. Amen.
Amen.
Good job, Emily.
Yeah. How do you spell it? Turkey.
Of course. Yeah. It's very warm. I'm trying to get Charles to get one too.
What is that? Oh, she loves her boots.
Told him my Christmas gift